Corporate operations eliminate surprises. Supply chains, quality assurance, and compliance all optimized for absolute predictability. But innovation requires the exact opposite approach, an environment that absorbs and manages uncertainty to find new value. Traditional management systems, like quality or environmental management, are designed to stamp out variance. The ultimate goal is repeatable, error-free results every single time. Applying these variance-eliminating filters to early-stage innovation kills the entire process. Breakthroughs require rapid experimentation, failure, and learning, activities that traditional quality systems categorize as completely unacceptable errors. ISO proposes a parallel framework, an innovation management system. The overlapping circles show it interfaces with existing structures while maintaining distinct rules. Notice the blue chevron. Both standard operations and the innovation system must ultimately align toward one directional output, the purpose of the organization. Approaching innovation as a mysterious, unmanageable art form guarantees inconsistent results. High-performance organizations treat it as an engineered, measurable capability that runs strictly alongside their existing quality controls. This architecture is detailed in the Draft International Standard, ISO-DIS 56001. It provides a formal framework of requirements for enterprise-scale operations, though the text notes it may not be relevant for early-stage startups. ISO 56001 systematizes the organizational environment surrounding ideas, leaving the creative content of those ideas untouched. The standard defines the organizational structures, dedicated resource allocations, and rigorous feedback loops required to take high-risk concepts and safely test, validate, and scale them without exposing the core business to fatal hazards. The entire engine is judged by a single core metric: value realization. In this framework, an idea only succeeds if its deployment creates measurable financial or non-financial value for users, customers, or other interested parties. By deconstructing this blueprint from first principles, we can see exactly how an enterprise engineers a reproducible, stable system to capture an inherently unpredictable outcome. The first requirement for a functional innovation management system is unbroken vertical alignment. At the strategic level, top management explicitly defines the innovation intent and innovation strategy. This drops down to the tactical level, establishing the innovation portfolios. These portfolios act as the primary risk management mechanism. They properly diversify the strategy, balancing short-term, incremental improvements against long-term, transformative bets that carry higher uncertainty. Finally, the portfolio dictates reality on the ground at the operational level, governed by Clause 8. This layer contains the specific innovation initiatives and the concrete processes required to actually execute them. The standard requires critical upward feedback loops. Operational failures, successes, and market realities flow back up the management chain to inform tactical portfolios and adjust the strategic intent. This unbroken chain explains why heavily funded, isolated corporate innovation labs frequently fail. They operate entirely at the operational level, untethered from the strategic intent and tactical portfolios of their parent company. Clause 8 defines the actual mechanics of how opportunities are converted into deployed solutions. The standard outlines 5 generic innovation processes required for this engine. These 5 processes are designed to be iterative, nonlinear, and non-sequential, allowing teams to move back and forth as new data emerges. It begins with identify opportunities, extracting insights from the needs of users. Those insights feed directly into create concepts, where the organization translates opportunities into theoretical value propositions. The most critical node is validate concepts. Teams run rigorous experiments and validate assumptions to aggressively reduce uncertainty before heavy capital is spent. Concepts that survive this validation phase move into develop solutions, where the working model is built, and finally to deploy solutions, where it is launched to users. Clause 8 dictates that this system must include definitive decision points. At any stage, the initiative can be routed to repeat a previous process, advance forward, or be intentionally discontinued entirely. Here, discontinuation is a required feature. Capturing the negative results and lessons learned from a discontinued initiative is a primary output of the operational engine. The operational engine functions as a ruthless filtration system, stripping away critical uncertainties to protect the enterprise before deployment. That operational engine requires a protective layer of resources and support, detailed in Clause 7, that remains distinct from the rest of the enterprise's daily operations. The finance requirement mandates that the enterprise establish specialized funding principles capable of supporting both planned portfolio initiatives and highly unpredictable, unplanned innovation activities that inevitably arise. The intellectual property requirement imposes a dual mandate. The system must proactively monitor external environments to secure freedom to operate, while simultaneously shielding the intellectual assets it generates internally. The standard mandates allocations for dedicated time for innovators and specialized infrastructure for safe experimentation, along with rigorous knowledge management systems to capture both explicit and tacit learning. Without this dedicated support shell, corporate mechanisms like rigid budget cycles or short-term KPIs will act as antibodies, killing off high-risk initiatives before they can be validated. This brings us to the final layers of the architecture, the macro-level governance that forces the entire system to constantly adapt to its changing environment. The entire framework is driven by the classic Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, or PDCA. This cycle is mapped directly onto the ISO 56001 clauses to guarantee continuous oversight. During the evaluation phase, governed by Clause 9, top management is required to conduct internal audits and management reviews of the innovation portfolios. Leadership must analyze specific metrics. Is the engine realizing value? How well is knowledge captured from failures? Are tactical portfolios hitting their strategic targets? That evaluation triggers continual improvement under Clause 10. If the audits reveal performance gaps, the system mandates immediate corrective actions to recalibrate strategic intent or restructure operational processes. The IMS functions as a self-auditing, continuously evolving organism that recalibrates its own risk parameters based on real-world performance data. A pervasive corporate myth suggests that innovation relies entirely on serendipity, isolated genius, or a chaotic lack of rules. ISO 56001 explicitly rejects this myth. It proves that while a creative breakthrough cannot be forced on command, an organization can mandate the architectural conditions that allow a breakthrough to survive and scale. By isolating experimentation from standard operations, aligning it vertically from high-level intent down to daily initiatives, and filtering it horizontally through rigorous validation, the enterprise converts unpredictable chaos into a manageable process. The standard provides a dedicated environment that shields creative work from the rigid operational protocols and standard KPIs of a standard enterprise. The ultimate stake here is organizational resilience. In an environment defined by rapid technological leaps and volatile market shifts, continuous competitiveness requires constant adaptation. Achieving conformity to this standard signals to external partners and investors that the organization has transitioned its innovation capability from a fragile individual trait into a hardened institutional framework. The system locks in the core objective, the systematic realization of value under conditions of extreme uncertainty. Implementing ISO 56001 is an act of strategic foresight. It is the engineering of a machine whose sole purpose is to de-risk the future.